The vote to remove me passed unanimously. But the operating agreement required my signature to execute it. Both facts were true at the same time. I received the meeting minutes on a Wednesday afternoon. Emergency session, called by my 3 co-founders. Motion to remove me from operational authority. Vote, 3 in favor, 0 against. I hadn't been invited to the meeting. The email came from Daniel. Subject line, Board decision, operational restructuring. He thanked me for my contributions, said the company was moving in a new direction, said my role no longer aligned with strategic priorities. Effective immediately, I was removed from all client-facing responsibilities. My access to the product roadmap would be revoked. My equity remained unchanged, but I would transition to an advisory capacity. I read it twice. Then I opened the company's operating agreement. Section 12.4, Material Governance Changes. Any modification to member roles, operational authority, or management structure required unanimous written consent of all founding members. I was a founding member. I hadn't consented. I hadn't even been asked. My phone rang. It was Paige, one of the junior developers. She worked remotely from Manchester. She'd seen the announcement. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I'm fine," I said. I didn't tell her about Section 12.4. I opened my files and started reviewing. The operating agreement was 41 pages long. I'd helped draft it 2 years ago when we incorporated. The 4 of us sat in Daniel's apartment, argued about equity splits, about decision rights, about what would happen if someone wanted to leave. Section 12.4 had been my suggestion. I wanted protection against being voted out by the other 3 founders. Daniel had agreed, said it was fair, said unanimous consent made sense for major changes. We'd all signed. Now I read it again. Section 12.4, Material Governance Changes. Any modification to the operational authority, management responsibilities, or governance role of any founding member requires the unanimous written consent of all founding members. Such consent must be documented in a signed amendment to this agreement. The email from Daniel said I was removed from operational authority. That qualified as a material governance change. No amendment had been drafted. I hadn't been asked to sign anything. I checked my email, searched for any document requests from the past 2 weeks. Nothing. I opened my company folder, downloaded the original operating agreement, saved it to my personal drive. Then I checked the most recent bank statements. We were a remote software company, 4 founders, 12 employees total. Revenue, approximately $40,000 per month. Expenses, $32,000. We were profitable, not massively, but stable. My role had been product operations. I managed the development roadmap, coordinated with clients, oversaw the release schedule. Daniel handled sales. Marcus managed engineering. Lisa ran finance. We'd worked together for 2 years without major conflict. Until 3 weeks ago. That's when the tone shifted. It started with a client call, a potential enterprise deal. The client wanted custom features. I'd reviewed the technical requirements, sent Daniel my assessment. The customization would take 4 months. Delay our existing roadmap. Create maintenance debt. I recommended we decline. Daniel disagreed. Said the revenue was too important. Said we could manage the timeline. I sent him the project breakdown. Showed him the resource constraints. Explained why it wasn't feasible without hiring additional developers. He scheduled a founders meeting. Just the 4 of us. I laid out my analysis. Marcus agreed with me. The engineering team was already stretched. Daniel pushed back. Said we needed to grow faster. Said we were being too cautious. Lisa sided with Daniel. Said the revenue would fund future hires. The meeting ended without resolution. 2 days later, Daniel sent an email to the client. Accepted the deal. He didn't tell me until after the contract was signed. I didn't confront him, just adjusted the roadmap, started planning how to manage the additional work. But something had changed. The first week after the removal email was quiet. I still had access to most systems, email, Slack, the project management tools, but my permissions had changed. I noticed it when I tried to update the product roadmap. The file was locked, status, view only. I checked the document history. Marcus had changed the permissions 2 days after Daniel's email. I took a screenshot, saved it. My calendar was still active, but invitations stopped coming. The daily stand-up meeting, which I'd run for 18 months, continued without me. I could see it on the shared calendar, but I wasn't invited. The weekly client sync calls, removed. The founder's strategy session, canceled from my calendar. No one sent explanations. No one asked if I had questions. I continued working on the tasks I still had access to. Responded to emails, updated documentation I could still edit. Mostly, I watched. I saw the new roadmap take shape. The enterprise customization project was now the priority. Everything else was pushed back. I saw the engineering team's concerns in Slack, questions about timeline, about resource allocation, about whether this was feasible. Daniel responded to all of them, said it was handled, said the new structure would make things more efficient. He didn't explain what the new structure was. Thursday afternoon, I received a calendar invitation. Subject: Q4 planning session. Organizer: Daniel. Attendees: Marcus, Lisa, and 3 senior engineers. I wasn't included. The meeting was scheduled for the following Monday. 2 hours. Agenda: strategic priorities and resource allocation. I checked the previous quarter's planning session notes. I'd run that meeting, documented decisions, presented the roadmap. Now I wasn't invited. I didn't ask why. I opened a new document, started tracking every change. Date: November 2nd. Roadmap permissions changed to view only. Date: November 3rd. Daily stand-up invitation removed. Date: November 4th. Weekly client calls removed. Date: November 5th. Q4 planning session scheduled without me. I saved the document, updated it daily. Week 2 began with a Slack message. Daniel posted in the general channel. Quick update. We're streamlining decision-making processes to move faster on client commitments. Going forward, product decisions will be coordinated through a smaller working group. More details soon. No mention of who was in the working group, but I knew I wasn't. That afternoon, Marcus sent me a direct message. Hey, can you send me the login credentials for the staging environment? Need to make some updates. I'd set up the staging environment. I was the only one with admin access. I sent him the credentials. He didn't say thank you, didn't explain what updates he was making. I logged into the staging environment, watched the activity log. Marcus was making configuration changes, adjusting the deployment pipeline, modifying the release schedule. All things I used to manage. I took screenshots of the changes, saved them with timestamps. Wednesday, Lisa sent an email to all employees. Subject: Expense policy update. The email outlined new approval processes. Any expense over £200 required founder approval. Previously, department leads could approve up to £500. I was no longer listed as a department lead. My name didn't appear in the organizational chart attached to the email. I checked the previous version. I'd been listed as Product Operations Lead. Now that section was blank. I forwarded the email to my personal account. Friday afternoon, I received an invitation to a company all-hands meeting. Subject: Team Update, Strategic Direction. Scheduled for the following week. At least I was still invited to that. The all-hands meeting was scheduled for November 16th. I joined the video call at the scheduled time. 12 employees, 4 founders. Everyone's camera was on. Daniel started the meeting. Thanks everyone for joining. I wanted to share some updates about our strategic direction. He pulled up a presentation. Slide 1, Accelerating Growth. He talked about the enterprise deal, the revenue opportunity, the plan to double the team in the next 6 months. Slide 2, Organizational changes. To support this growth, we're restructuring leadership responsibilities. Marcus will take on expanded engineering oversight. Lisa will lead operations and finance. I'll focus on enterprise sales and partnerships. He didn't mention me. I watched the reactions. A few people glanced at their secondary screens, probably looking for my name. No one asked. Daniel continued. We're also implementing a new decision-making framework. Faster iteration, less process, more autonomy for senior team members. He showed a new org chart. Marcus, engineering lead. Lisa, operations lead. Daniel, CEO. My name appeared at the bottom. No title, just advisory. One of the developers typed in chat, "What does advisory mean?" Daniel didn't answer immediately. Then, supporting strategic initiatives as needed. The meeting continued for another 30 minutes. Updates on the product roadmap, timeline for the enterprise project, hiring plans. I didn't speak. When the meeting ended, I closed the video call, opened my tracking document. Date, November 16th. Public announcement of organizational restructure. Role change to advisory with no defined responsibilities. I saved it. Then I opened the operating agreement again. Read section 12.4 one more time. They'd restructured my role, changed my title, removed my authority, all without my written consent, all in violation of the agreement we'd signed. I still didn't know what I was going to do about it, but I knew I had leverage. November passed slowly. I stopped receiving project updates, stopped being tagged in Slack discussions, stopped having clear responsibilities. I still logged in every day, checked email, monitored the shared drives. No one asked me to do anything. No one asked me to stop logging in either. I watched the enterprise project develop, saw the engineering team struggle with the timeline, saw the scope expand beyond the original estimate. I didn't offer advice. Late November, Daniel scheduled another founders meeting. Subject: Equity and compensation review. Just the 4 of us. Video call. I joined at the scheduled time. Daniel opened the meeting. I wanted to discuss equity structure. With the changes we've made, I think we should revisit the founder split. I said nothing. Currently, we're 25% each, but given the different levels of operational involvement, I'm proposing we adjust. I'd like to discuss a reallocation that reflects current contributions. Marcus spoke first. What are you suggesting? I think leadership roles should carry more equity weight. Those of us actively running the business should hold a larger stake. Lisa nodded. That seems fair. I kept my camera on, kept my expression neutral. What percentage are you proposing? Marcus asked. I'm thinking 30% for active founders, 10% for advisory roles. Silence. That's a significant change, Marcus said. It reflects current reality, Daniel said. He looked at me. What do you think? I unmuted. Do you have this proposal in writing? I asked. Not yet. I wanted to discuss it first. I'd like to see a formal proposal, with legal documentation. Of course. I'll have our attorney draft something. Send it when it's ready. I'll review it. I muted again. The meeting continued for another 20 minutes. Discussion of valuation, vesting schedules, timeline for implementation. I didn't speak again. When the meeting ended, I opened the operating agreement. Section 8.2, Equity Modifications. Any modification to the equity allocation among founding members requires unanimous written consent and must be executed through a formal amendment to this agreement. They couldn't change my equity without my signature, just like they couldn't change my operational role without my signature. They'd already violated the agreement once. Now they wanted to do it again. I waited for the formal proposal. December arrived. I received the equity proposal on December 3rd. The email came from an attorney I didn't recognize. Subject: Proposed Amendment to Operating Agreement. Attached, a 6-page document. I read it carefully. The proposal reduced my equity from 25% to 10%, increased Daniel's to 35%. Marcus and Lisa would each hold 27.5%. The justification cited reduced operational involvement and reallocation to reflect active leadership. The document required my signature. I didn't sign. I didn't respond to the email. December 10th, Daniel sent me a direct message. Did you get the equity proposal? Yes. What do you think? I'm reviewing it. I'd like to finalize this before year end, for tax purposes. I'll let you know when I've finished my review. How long do you need? I'm not sure yet. He stopped responding. December 15th, the attorney sent a follow-up email. Subject: Equity Amendment. Response requested. The email noted that I hadn't responded to the initial proposal. It asked for confirmation of receipt and timeline for review. I replied, Received. Still under review. December 20th. Daniel called me directly. I answered. We need to move forward on this, he said. The proposal has been ready for 2 weeks. I understand. Do you have specific concerns? I'm evaluating the terms. What's there to evaluate? The equity reflects current involvement. You're not running operations anymore. I'm aware of the changes that have been made. So you agree the adjustment is fair? I didn't say that. Pause. What exactly are you objecting to? I haven't decided whether to sign. This isn't optional. We need to formalize the structure. The operating agreement requires unanimous consent for equity modifications. That means I have to agree. Silence on the other end. Are you saying you won't sign? I'm saying I haven't decided. What would it take for you to decide? I need time to review. How much time? I'll let you know. He hung up. I saved notes from the conversation. Date: December 20th. Phone call with Daniel. Pressure to sign equity modification. I declined to commit. The company closed for holiday break on December 23rd. I didn't hear from any of the founders for a week. I spent the time reviewing documents, the original operating agreement, the removal email from November, the organizational restructure announcement, the equity proposal. Every change they'd made had required my consent under the agreement. None of them had received it. I also reviewed my equity stake, 25% of the company. At current valuation, approximately £800,000 based on revenue multiples, my stake was worth £200,000. The proposal would reduce that to £80,000, a reduction of £120,000. But the real issue wasn't the money, it was the process. They'd violated the operating agreement when they removed my operational authority. Now they wanted me to ratify that violation by signing away my equity. And if I didn't sign, they couldn't proceed, because the agreement required unanimous consent. I had veto power. January 2nd, the company reopened. I received an email from Daniel. Subject: Meeting request. Urgent. He He wanted to schedule a call, just the two of us. I accepted. Set it for January 5th. The call started at 10 o'clock. Daniel's camera was on. He looked tired. "Thanks for making time," he said. I nodded. "I want to understand where you stand on the equity proposal." "I'm not planning to sign it." Silence. "Can I ask why?" "The proposal reduces my equity by 60%. I don't agree with that valuation of my contributions." "Your role has changed. You're not involved in daily operations." "My role changed without my consent. Section 12.4 of the operating agreement requires unanimous approval for governance changes. I never approved the restructure." He processed this. "You didn't object at the time." "I didn't consent either. Silence isn't consent under the agreement." "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying the restructure wasn't properly executed. The equity proposal is based on an invalid organizational change." "Are you threatening legal action?" "I'm stating facts about our contract." He leaned back. "What do you want?" "I want the agreement honored." "What does that mean specifically?" "It means either you reinstate my operational authority as originally defined, or you buy out my equity at fair market value." "How much?" 25% of current valuation, £200,000. "We don't have that kind of capital." "Then reinstate my role." "That's not going to happen." "Then we have a problem." Pause. "You're holding the company hostage." "I'm exercising my contractual rights." "This is insane." "This is the agreement we all signed." He ended the call. January continued without resolution. I didn't hear from Daniel for a week. Then I received an email from the company attorney. Subject: Contractual dispute. Resolution options. The email outlined 3 options. I sign the equity modification and the matter is closed. The company buys out my equity at a reduced valuation, 15% of company value, or £120,000. The company initiates legal proceedings to enforce the restructure. The email gave me 10 days to respond. I forwarded it to my own attorney. Her name was Jennifer Hastings. She specialized in startup disputes. I'd consulted her in December, paid a retainer, asked her to review the operating agreement and the restructure. She'd confirmed my analysis. The changes violated the unanimous consent requirement. Now she reviewed the company's offer. We met on January 12th. Video call. "Their position is weak," she said. "They can't enforce the restructure without your consent, and they can't modify equity without your signature." "What about option 3, legal proceedings?" "They can try, but the contract is clear. Unless they can prove you constructively consented, which silence doesn't establish, they don't have grounds." "So what should I do?" "Counter with your original terms. Full market value buyout or reinstatement. Make them choose." "What if they refuse?" "Then you wait. They can't move forward without your consent. Can't bring in investors. Can't modify the cap table. They're stuck." "How long can I wait?" "As long as you want. You're not blocking ordinary operations, just major governance changes." I thought about it. "Send the counteroffer." She drafted it that afternoon. The response outlined my position. The November restructure violated Section 12.4. I did not consent to the changes. I would consider 2 options: reinstatement to original operational role, or buyout at full market value. 25% of £800,000 equals £200,000. No other terms would be accepted. Jennifer sent it on January 13th. We waited. The response came on January 20th, from Daniel directly, not the attorney. Subject: Proposal. The email was brief. After discussing with Marcus and Lisa, we're prepared to offer a buyout at £175,000. This is our final offer. We need a response by January 25th. I forwarded it to Jennifer. She called within an hour. They're negotiating. That's a good sign. It's still $25,000 less than full value. Yes, but it's significantly better than their initial offer, and it avoids litigation. Should I counter? You could push for 185 or 190, but there's risk they'll walk away. What happens if they walk away? Stalemate. They can't make major changes without you. You can't force a buyout without their agreement. Could drag on for months. I considered this. Counter with 190. She sent it that afternoon. The response came the next morning. 185, final offer. Signature required by January 27th. I reviewed the number. £185,000 for 25% equity. That valued the company at £740,000. Slightly below my estimate, but reasonable. More importantly, it was a clean exit. I called Jennifer. Accept it? That's your decision, but yes, I'd recommend it. It's fair value, clean break, no litigation risk. Draft the acceptance. The buyout agreement was finalized on January 28th, 12 pages. I would transfer my 25% equity to the remaining founders. They would split it proportionally. I would receive £185,000, paid in 2 installments, £100,000 on signing, £85,000 within 60 days. I would resign from all company roles and advisory positions. I would sign a mutual non-disparagement agreement. The agreement acknowledged that certain governance procedures were not followed during organizational restructuring, but stated both parties agreed to resolve the matter without admission of fault. I read it 3 times. Then I signed. The company signed. Jennifer filed it. February 1st, I received the first payment, £100,000. I deposited it, paid Jennifer's fees, £8,000, paid taxes, £28,000. Net, £64,000 in hand, £85,000 pending. I resigned from all company Slack channels, deactivated my company email, returned my laptop. No one sent a goodbye message, no farewell call, no thank you for 2 years of work. I didn't expect one. April 1st, I received the second payment, £85,000. After taxes, approximately £60,000. Total net proceeds, £124,000. I'd started the company with £4,000 of personal investment. I walked away with £124,000 after 2 years, more than most employees would make. Less than I'd expected when we started, but clean, final, resolved on my terms. 6 months later, I heard the company had landed another enterprise deal. Revenue was growing. They were hiring. I didn't follow the details. I'd moved on to a new role. Product manager at an established company. Salary, £85,000 annually. No equity. No founder disputes. I worked regular hours, reported to a clear manager, had defined responsibilities. It was simpler that way, the way it should have been from the start.